open the second part of our debate and let's begin the procedure for the government.
Well, first I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today, and I want to thank all the adjudicators and organizers. I think Robert was saying something here. I wonder if that was somehow connected to your education or to something else. I'm going to talk in my speech about what the election system today is and whether we have the right to choose it. Then we'll deal with how can we avoid these problems, and then I'll talk about how people will react to these changes. So basically, nowadays, oh my God, votes need skills. It is pretty obvious that any choice you make takes knowledge and takes your skills to work with this knowledge. And therefore, when it comes to global politics, when it comes to economy and stuff like that, you need not only the basic knowledge and common sense you once used to need in ancient Greece, for example, or even in the 19th century. You need much more of knowledge and information of what international law is, of what, for example, is anything regarding banking system, and so on and so on. If you read, unfortunately it's absent here, Gorbatenko's live journal on banking and elections in the USA, you would surely know that even he, with his education, is pretty hard with any judgment regarding this and pretty accurate. So, no thank you. What we are talking about is that nowadays, electoral system is pretty easy to make a good instrument for populists. Why? Political culture, yes, includes understanding your needs. Even if you do understand your needs, though that already takes a lot of brains to do, you still need pretty lot of skill and knowledge to understand what is the mechanism of realizing that and how that can be brought to life. So you need a competent leader to do that, and you need to know what promise shall come true and what promise shall not come true, because it's not fulfilled, because nobody is able to fulfill it. So I put to you, so at least this, I mean the point of political culture, really takes some amount of education, and this is really high education, because only universities give some certain points like philosophy, serious, deep humanitarian study of society, and also, ladies and gentlemen, what's more important, here we come to what do we need from the electoral system. We need the competent choice. What is competent choice? A competent choice is a choice made by those who really are good voters. What is a good voter? It's not only a person who has the information, as our colleague said, and has the ability to work with this information. Because of the fact that highly educated people, and the study shows, I quoted this study last year during the MLC games in this building, tend to be much more interested in politics, firstly, and secondly, tend to know much more, not only about the promises and the theoretical knowledge, but also about the consequences of the decisions made by the leaders. They are much more motivated to vote. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because actually they know how their votes affect the history of the nation. And thus, they are much more motivated and responsible. But the second point here is that their vote, for that reason, is often a much more competent vote. Why? Well, we talked about the fact that they're less keen on being giving their votes to populists. The second thing is those people have the skills. So when we talk about equality, I want you to understand that, yes, it is pretty hard, and I state it right into your face, that it's pretty hard to say that, no, we are not equal. But I've shown you today that we are not. Why? Of course, I have the same right to live as any person standing in the street. Yes, here we are equal. In certain cases, we are not. To be an attorney at law, you need a certain degree. To be a president of Russian Federation, you need to meet some certain requirements. And to be a voter, you also need something more. Oh, yeah, please.
Still this point. You didn't manage to provide this argumentation. Why, firstly, depriving of the education, states should deprive of the right to vote on an equal basis.
I do agree that in some cases educational systems are not perfect. I still think that that's not a system, not a matter of electoral process. That's a problem of educational process, and we should deal with it separately, because I believe that all states usually fight for good education. And at least a government which was elected by educated people would fight for more educated people because they know the problem. At least for those reasons. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, there are cases where people are not equal and where competence is needed, and this is the crucial thing we can bring to you. Competence is the ground for not being equal, and that's why we do not deprive everyone of their rights. We just give more rights to certain, more competent people. And great arguments we heard about India and Russia. First, India, great democracy where they beat gays just for being gay, and that's the example of not education being a power. And the second idea of Russia with its populism. And what's more, the third point, how will this new system affect the government? My colleague will deal with it a little bit, but firstly, we believe that people who vote with their high education now disrespect the electoral process at all. Why? Because their votes, after they spent years and efforts to get education and know more about the world, count just as much as people who just don't bother to learn more about the world. So we believe that with our plan, these people will believe that their votes really count and really are valued by the society. But secondly, we believe that when the right leaders are being elected by the right competent choice, these leaders tend less to be ignoring society. And a good example is Russia, where a populist party came to power, and now we got not 4 but 6 years of president powers. Why? Well, if that's not abusing powers by a populist party, then I would tell what the mistakes are in this case. And for all those reasons, ladies and gentlemen, I beg you to propose. Thank you. And now